My mom tried to sell my childhood trophies. I've always thought of myself as someone who keeps their past close even if the past doesn't always keep me. There's something comforting about holding on to the tangible proof that you existed in a world that sometimes feels determined to forget you. So imagine my horror when I went up to the attic last Saturday, expecting to grab a few boxes of old blankets and Halloween decorations, and instead stumbled across a large cardboard box labeled garage sale items. At first, I didn't even think much of it. We've had garage sales before. Mom, Claire, loves to declutter every spring. She's got this innate ability to turn anything sentimental into junk and slap a price tag on it. But as I approached the box, a wave of unease hit me. Something about the way it sat there, almost too neatly packed, made my stomach tighten. I lifted the lid and the air hit me differently, the dusty scent of old cardboard mixed with that faint chemical smell of polished trophies. And then I saw them. My trophies, my medals, my certificates, every single scrap of paper, plastic, and metal that had once screamed, "Look at what I've achieved," was crammed into that box, ready to be sold to someone who wouldn't care about the countless Saturday mornings I spent at soccer practice or the evenings buried in spelling books. I froze. My hand hovered above the nearest trophy, a small scratched soccer cup I had won when I was 11. The memory hit me like a punch to the gut. I could see it clearly. The way my teammates had lifted me up on their shoulders, the sound of my mom clapping so loudly I could hear it from the stands, the way my dad smiled, that rare, genuine smile that he usually reserves for golf tournaments and work conferences. That cup wasn't just a cup, it was a testament to years of sweat, bruises, scraped knees, and late nights practicing footwork in the driveway until the streetlights came on, and my mom was about to sell it. I pulled out another item, a certificate from the regional spelling bee I'd won at age 9. I remember the night I brought it home. My dad had woken up just to see me hang it on the fridge, and my sister Emma had made that awful little face kids make when they're jealous of their older sibling. But I didn't care. I had earned it, and it was mine. Now, here it was, sitting in a box like it was nothing more than an old receipt or a broken lamp. Anger started to bubble up. I could feel it coiling around my chest, tightening my throat. How could she? How could mom just decide that all these memories, all this evidence of who I was and what I had worked for, was just something to be sold off like a secondhand shirt? I stormed downstairs, trophies clutched under my arm like precious artifacts, and found Claire in the kitchen, humming softly while washing dishes. She turned when she saw me, her expression a mixture of curiosity and mild irritation. "What is it, Alex?" she asked. I held up the trophies, shaking slightly. Why are you trying to sell my trophies?" My voice wavered somewhere between disbelief and fury. Claire sighed, placing her hands on the sink. "Alex, they're just things. You haven't touched them in years. It's time to declutter." "Just things?" I echoed, my voice rising. "These aren't just things. These are my achievements. Do you even remember how much work went into these? The soccer games, the spelling bees, the piano recitals?" Claire gave me a look that was equal parts exasperated and detached. "Alex, you're 22. Those days are over. They're just trophies. They don't mean anything now. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm trying to clean the house." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're trying to clean the house by selling everything I worked for? By throwing away memories that mean more to me than anything you've ever bought me?" David, my dad, appeared from the living room, rubbing his eyes. Hey, let's not turn this into a thing," he said cautiously, trying to diffuse the tension. "It's just some old trophies. Why don't we just—" "Don't," I snapped, spinning on him. "Don't tell me not to care. Don't tell me it's just some old trophies." Emma poked her head around the corner, a mischievous grin on her face. "Wow, Alex is really fired up. Did the trophies bite you or something?" I groaned, running a hand through my hair. "Emma, this isn't funny. These are my memories, my hard work. Mom is literally selling my childhood." Emma shrugged, still teasing. "Well, maybe someone else will love your trophies as much as you did." I glared at her, but part of me softened. Emma didn't understand the weight of what was happening, and she was right. Part of her joking came from innocence, not malice. But that didn't make it sting any less. Claire leaned back, arms crossed, her voice calm but firm. "Alex, you're overreacting. You're taking things too personally. They're just objects. We all have to let go of things eventually." I felt my chest tighten even more. Let go? Let go. These trophies weren't just objects. They were proof of every time I had pushed myself. Every night I'd stayed up practicing scales on the piano until my fingers bled. Every early morning I had dragged myself to soccer practice even when I didn't feel like it. Every award was a story, a memory, a victory, and she wanted to sell them like old magazines. I slammed the trophies onto the counter. The sound echoed through the kitchen like a warning. "No, Mom, you're not selling these. Not one of them. I don't care what you call them. You will not sell these trophies." Claire's eyes narrowed slightly, her patience thinning. "Alex, calm down. You're being dramatic. They're just things. If you want to keep them, fine. But you can't keep everything forever." I felt a surge of frustration. I wanted to scream at her, to make her understand the weight of what she was trying to do. But words felt inadequate. Instead, I grabbed the trophies again, holding them close as if my arms could somehow shield them from the world. "I am keeping them," I said firmly. "All of them. Every single one. You don't get to decide what my childhood means. David stepped in, trying to mediate. Maybe we can find a compromise. No compromise, I interrupted, my voice cracking slightly. These are mine. Mine. Do you understand? You can't sell my childhood. Emma, sensing the tension was beyond her jokes, shuffled away quietly. Even she could tell this was serious. Claire's face softened a little, but only slightly. Alex, I didn't think it would upset you this much. I thought they were taking up space. I didn't realize how much they meant to you. I paused, taking a shaky breath. Of course they mean something to me. They're my life, my effort, my memories. And you can't just throw that away because you think it's clutter. She opened her mouth to respond, but I could see she didn't have the words to bridge the gap between our perspectives. And honestly, neither did I. We were both standing there, two people in the same house, speaking completely different languages about the same objects. By the time I left the kitchen, I was shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. I spent the rest of the day pacing, thinking about how I was going to protect the trophies. There was no way I was letting them go. I imagined hiding them, sneaking them out of the house, even staging some ridiculous scheme to rescue them from the garage sale, anything to ensure that the symbols of my childhood, my accomplishments, would remain in my possession. Later that night, I sat on my bed, the trophies lined up in front of me like soldiers waiting for orders. I looked at each one, remembering the nights of practice, the long drives to competitions, the moments when I felt like I could conquer the world because I had earned these little pieces of validation, and I made a promise to myself. No one, no parent, no sibling, no random stranger was going to take that from me. Not Claire, not anyone. I didn't know exactly what my plan was yet. Maybe I'd hide them in my closet. Maybe I'd confront her again with more strategy. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let my past be sold for a few dollars at some weekend garage sale. My childhood, my memories, and my achievements were mine. And if anyone tried to take them, they would have to go through me first. And as I lay there that night, staring at the trophies glinting under my desk lamp, I realized something else. This wasn't just about trophies anymore. It was about respect, about acknowledgement, and about standing up for the parts of myself that mattered most. Because if I didn't fight for my own past, who would? And that's when I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but it had to be done. After the confrontation with Mom yesterday, I thought the immediate storm had passed. Spoiler alert, it hadn't. Not even close. What started as sheer shock had now morphed into this gnawing, almost obsessive need to understand why. Why would Claire try to sell my trophies? Was it just clutter to her, or was there something deeper lurking beneath that polite, calm surface she always carries around like armor? I spent the next morning in a daze staring at my trophies lined up on the dresser. They weren't safe yet, not by a long shot. And the more I stared, the more I remembered, piece by piece, every time she had dismissed something I cared about. There was the spelling bee trophy from 3rd grade. I remember walking into the living room, glowing with pride, holding that ugly little cup, expecting at least a smile. Mom glanced up from her magazine, muttered, "Good job, Alex," and went back to her crossword. I'd been so proud, and her reaction had stung more than any spelling mistake ever could. Then there was the piano recital medal, which I had earned after practicing endlessly for months. I had asked her to come watch, and she did, sort of, but spent half the recital on her phone, answering emails. I remember clenching my teeth so hard I almost broke a tooth, and thinking, if she doesn't care, why should I? Yet I had cared. I still care. Soccer tournaments were a little better. Dad showed up sometimes, though more out of duty than enthusiasm, and Mom, well, she'd cheer in her own quiet way, always glancing at the clock. And now, decades later, she wanted to throw all of that away. I needed perspective. I needed advice. I called Ryan Bennett, my best Fritzies friend since middle school, the one person who could cut through my emotional fog and make sense of this madness. "Hey man," he answered, voice chipper as usual. "What's up?" "You're not going to believe this," I said, pacing in my room. Mom is trying to sell my trophies. All of them. Soccer, spelling bee, piano, everything. She literally put them in a box labeled garage sale items. There was a pause on the other end, then Ryan chuckled. "Wait, what? She's selling childhood memories now? Dude, that's next level evil. Or she's just trying to gaslight you into thinking your past doesn't exist. Either way, this is war." "I don't know why she's doing it," I admitted. "Is it money? Is it clutter? Or, I don't know, resentment?" Ryan snorted. "Oh, probably all three. Moms have a way of making even emotional destruction look like spring cleaning. But okay, we need a strategy here. What are you thinking?" I rubbed my temples. "I don't even know yet. I need to figure out her angle before I act. I can't just go in guns blazing without knowing why she's doing this." Ryan, as always, was ready with both humor and insight. "Start digging, find the motive. And remember, Alex, no one appreciates trophies more than the person who earned them. That's you. Keep that in mind when you plot your counterattack." So I started my investigation. First, I watched Mom closely. She moved around the house as usual, but there was something different. A tension I hadn't noticed before. She lingered near the storage closet, glanced at the garage sale box more than once, muttering under her breath. I tried to listen without being obvious, but mostly it was fragmented. Bills, credit card, so much clutter. I wasn't sure if she was talking about the trophies or just general household items. Then came a conversation that dug deeper into my suspicion. I casually asked Dad if money had been tight lately. He shrugged, avoiding eye contact, and muttered something about expenses. Nothing concrete, but I got the sense there was more than just a casual desire to declutter. Maybe Mom's plan to sell my trophies had a financial undertone, though it still didn't make it right. To get a fresh perspective, I went outside for some air and ended up talking to Mrs. Thompson, our neighbor who's basically seen the entire Carter family saga over the last 20 years. She noticed me pacing by the mailbox, looking both furious and bewildered. "Rough morning, Alex?" she asked, eyes sharp and knowing. I groaned. "You have no idea. Mom's trying to sell my trophies. Everything I've ever worked for as a kid, she says they're just things." Mrs. Thompson raised an eyebrow. The sentimental value clash. Classic. You know, sometimes parents forget what those little accomplishments meant when you were a kid, but you can't just let that slide if it's hurting you. You have to protect what matters to you. "Exactly," I exclaimed. "But how? How do I even handle this?" She smiled softly. "Think strategically. Observe, plan, and act when the time is right. Sometimes emotions get in the way. Sometimes the quiet moves win the battle." Her words resonated more than she knew. I realized my initial anger, while valid, wouldn't be enough to save the trophies. I needed a plan, a method, something more deliberate. That afternoon, I sat at my desk, flipping through each certificate and medal. Every single one told a story. My first soccer goal, my undefeated spelling bee streak, the piano recital where I almost passed out from nerves before hitting the final note perfectly. Each memory pulled me in deeper, fueling both nostalgia and a rising determination. I started making mental lists, options, pros and cons, sneak them into my room, risk confrontation, confront her more aggressively, risk escalating things further, create a diversion. Possibly the most effective, though slightly ridiculous. Every scenario had its risks, but doing nothing wasn't an option. I decided to call Ryan again. "I need your brain on this. You know, military-style operations for trophy rescue missions?" He laughed, the sound of much-needed relief. "I'm in. Operation Childhood Glory is a go. What's our first step, Commander?" I outlined my initial thoughts. Identify when Mom plans to move the box, figure out where she's taking the trophies, and assess if there's any way to shield them temporarily without setting off alarms. Ryan threw in ideas about decoy boxes, confusing labels, and of course, making the mission sound dramatic. By the end of the call, I had a clearer picture. This wasn't just a fight over trophies, it was about memory, respect, and control. Claire had her reasons, whatever they were, but I wasn't going to let them erase what I had earned. Later that day, Emma came into my room, curious. "Still mad about the trophies?" she asked, plopping onto my bed. "Mad doesn't even start to cover it," I muttered. She tilted her head, eyes glinting with mischief. "Well, you could always stage a protest, sit in the garage with a picket sign or something." I laughed despite myself. "Yeah, right. Free the trophies. Maybe I'll get a crowd." Emma shrugged. "Hey, stranger things have happened, but seriously, I get why you're upset. Mom's, she doesn't always understand." Her words, simple as they were, hit home. I realized Emma, naive as she could be, was right. Mom didn't fully understand the weight of what she was trying to do, but understanding or not, I had to act. That night, I made a concrete decision. I would observe, plan, and reclaim what was mine. I'd figure out a way to keep the trophy safe, no matter what it took. It wouldn't be easy. Claire wasn't exactly the type to back down quietly, but I knew I couldn't wait for someone else to solve this for me. This was my childhood, my memories, and my fight. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I imagined different scenarios, hiding the trophies in a secret spot, confronting Mom with a strategic plan, maybe even staging a decoy garage sale to throw her off. My mind buzzed with possibilities. The fire inside me, that mix of nostalgia, anger, and determination, was burning brighter than it ever had. This wasn't just about trophies anymore. It was about standing up for myself, protecting my past, and demanding the respect I had earned. And whatever it took, I was ready to act. Because once you let someone try to erase your past, you've lost more than just objects. You've lost part of yourself. And I wasn't about to let that happen. Not without a fight. I woke up that morning with a strange mix of dread and determination buzzing in my chest. The trophies were still lined up on my dresser, glinting in the early sunlight like tiny sentinels daring anyone to touch them. I knew that today, I couldn't just sit around and hope Mom would suddenly see the error of her ways. No, today I had to confront her. Directly, fully, and unapologetically. Breakfast was tense. The kind of quiet where everyone's thoughts feel loud and sharp. Claire was humming softly, pretending the previous arguments never happened. David was flipping through the newspaper, the ever-neutral mediator, and Emma was scrolling on her phone, occasionally snickering at some meme but clearly sensing the undercurrent of tension. I cleared my throat. "Mom," I said, my voice firmer than I intended, "we need to talk about the trophies." Claire's smile faltered slightly. "Alex, we already talked about this. I thought we were past it." "Past it?" I echoed, my hands gripping the edge of the table. "You don't get to just brush this off. These are my trophies, my childhood. You tried to sell them like they were garbage." David glanced up, raising his hands in that silent, please, not again gesture he's perfected over the years. Emma peeked over her phone, grinning mischievously, as if she was about to watch a fight unfold like a reality show. Claire leaned back, taking a deep breath, the calm facade she always wore slipping just a bit. "Alex, you have to understand, it's not about disrespecting you. I didn't realize, maybe I did, but I thought it was just stuff. Clutter. Things that don't matter anymore. I slammed my hand on the table. Things that don't matter? Mom, these aren't just things. These are the memories of every time I pushed myself. Every late night, every early morning, every moment I felt proud because I earned it. And you just want to erase all of that? She flinched, like my words had hit a nerve, and I could see the flash of something in her eyes. Guilt? Maybe, or just exhaustion. Alex, it's not about erasing anything. I'm struggling, okay? I've been trying to keep the house together, keep everything running, pay the bills. And yes, I see now that maybe I let the practical side outweigh the sentimental side. But you have to understand, I didn't do this to hurt you. Her voice cracked slightly, revealing a vulnerability I rarely saw. For a moment, I wanted to soften, to understand, but then I remembered all the years she minimized my achievements. The spelling bee that meant everything to me, the piano recital where my fingers bled on the keys, the soccer tournaments she attended half-heartedly. It wasn't just about the trophies now. It was about respect, acknowledgement, and a lifetime of small betrayals. You minimized me my entire childhood, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. Every time I wanted you to be proud, you were too busy, too distracted, too whatever it was. And now you want to sell the proof that I ever mattered? Claire's eyes welled up. Alex, that's not fair. I did the best I could. You know that. I never meant to. You did the best you could? The best you could was enough to make me feel like nothing I did ever mattered, I shouted. Emma gasped, and even David finally looked up, wide-eyed. Emma, ever the wild card, jumped in. Okay, maybe everyone needs to take a breath here, but her words barely masked the smirk creeping across her face like she was watching an emotional tennis match unfold in slow motion. Claire wiped at her eyes, taking another shaky breath. Alex, I see now that I made mistakes. Maybe I was unfair. Maybe I let practical matters cloud what should have mattered most to me. You. I see that now. I really do. But selling the trophies, I thought it was harmless. I wasn't thinking about how it would feel for you. Her voice was soft, almost pleading, and I felt a strange tug of sympathy. But sympathy didn't erase the anger, and anger didn't erase the sting of years of neglect. Then why now? I demanded. Why this sudden decision? You've always ignored these things before, but suddenly it's garage sale time and my childhood is on the chopping block? She flinched at the bluntness of my question. I guess I've been worried. Money's been tight. Bills, unexpected expenses, and I thought if we sold some things, it would help. I wasn't thinking about the emotional cost. I was thinking practically, and I feel guilty now. Guilt. That word hit me like a ton of bricks. For the first time, I realized there was a whole other layer here. My mom wasn't just being dismissive or cruel. She was struggling. Financially, emotionally, maybe even morally. But understanding that didn't erase the anger. So what now? I asked, my voice lower but tense. Are my trophies safe, or should I start hiding them? She hesitated. I don't know. Maybe we can find a compromise. I don't want to hurt you, Alex. I really don't. David, the eternal neutral party, finally spoke. Maybe we can sort through the house together, find items to sell that aren't as emotionally charged? I shook my head. No. This isn't just about the trophies. This is about respect, about acknowledging that what I worked for mattered. And if we can't do that, then I don't see any compromise. Emma snorted. Wow, someone's dramatic today. But even she had an edge of seriousness now. She wasn't joking entirely. She could feel the tension. Claire's shoulders slumped. Alex, I didn't realize. I wasn't thinking. I see now that I was wrong. I don't want to fight with you, but it's not just about pride, is it? I shook my head. It's not just about pride, it's about feeling seen. Feeling like my achievement and efforts weren't invisible. And right now, that's exactly what this feels like. Invisibility. She looked away, biting her lip. You're right. You've been invisible in a way I didn't intend. I'm sorry. For a moment, the room was silent. The trophies glimmered under the kitchen light, standing as silent witnesses to our argument, to my memories, to my childhood. I wanted to yell, to scream, to make her feel the full weight of years of minimized accomplishments. But instead, I took a deep breath. I get that you're stressed. I get that you're trying, but that doesn't change the fact that my childhood, my memories are mine, and you don't get to sell them. She finally met my eyes, her own filled with a mixture of guilt, fatigue, and reluctant understanding. You're right. I see that now. I shouldn't have made that decision without considering how it would affect you. I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try. Emma rolled her eyes, muttering, finally, some adult conversation. I couldn't help but chuckle lightly, the tension breaking just enough for a small breath of relief. David cleared his throat. So, trophies stay? I nodded. Yes, the trophies stay. But this conversation, it's far from over. We have more to work through. And I'm not letting my childhood just disappear quietly. Claire nodded slowly. I understand, and I'll try. I'll really try. The confrontation left us all drained. Emotions had spilled over, secrets and old wounds exposed. I saw the fatigue in my mother's eyes, the unease in my father's stance, and even Emma seemed to realize that childhood memories were more fragile than she thought. I didn't know exactly how we'd navigate the aftermath, but one thing was clear. The trophies weren't going anywhere. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like my voice, my experiences had been heard. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough to matter. And as I walked away from the kitchen, the weight in my chest lightened just a fraction. I had stood up, confronted the problem, and drawn a line. The path ahead was still murky, full of tension, unresolved issues, and awkward family dynamics, but I was ready to face it. Because sometimes, you don't just fight for trophies, you fight for recognition, for respect, for the memories that shaped who you are. And if that means a confrontation so raw and uncomfortable that leaves everyone shaken, so be it. This was my stand, my declaration, my confrontation. And the trophies, the irreplaceable evidence of my childhood victories, were safe, at least for now. The morning after the confrontation, the house felt quieter. Not in a bad way exactly, but there was a new weight in the air. A kind of tension that's softer than anger, more like the lingering static after a storm has passed. I woke up early, as usual, and went straight to my dresser. The trophies were still there, untouched, gleaming under the morning light like soldiers that had survived a battlefield. I couldn't help but smile. A small, victorious smile, tinged with exhaustion. I spent the first hour of the day just sitting on the floor, picking up each trophy, tracing the engravings, and remembering every moment tied to it. There was the little soccer medal I won in 4th grade, which I had proudly hung on the wall, even though Mom barely noticed. There was the piano recital plaque that I had won after months of practice, the night I stayed up until 1 a.m. just perfecting the last piece. And of course, the spelling bee trophies, every single one of them. Each one was a memory, a victory, a story. It hit me hard how fragile memories are when the people around you don't value them the same way you do. But now, seeing the trophies untouched, I felt a weird sense of reassurance. I hadn't just fought to save them, I'd forced acknowledgement, not just from my mom, but from myself. Breakfast was tense, though calmer than the previous day. Claire kept glancing at the trophies on the counter, her eyes softer this time, the sharp edges of guilt visible. David still hovered somewhere between calm and awkward neutrality, while Emma, ever the unpredictable force, seemed to be scheming something. "So, you didn't end up selling them?" Emma asked casually, trying to sound nonchalant, but failing miserably. Her eyes betrayed her amusement. "Nope," I said, arms crossed, smug. "Every last one is safe." Ryan, of course, had to call at that exact moment, probably sensing the potential for post-confrontation drama. "Mission accomplished, Commander Carter?" he asked cheerfully. I laughed, relief leaking through my voice. "Yes, but the battlefield is far from over. There's a lot of, residual tension." "Residual tension?" Ryan asked, mock seriously. "Sounds like you need a medal for emotional survival. I'll get started on the design." Emma snorted from the background, and I realized that humor, as always, was the glue that kept my sanity intact. Between Ryan's sarcastic encouragement and Emma's playful commentary, the intensity of the past few days felt lighter. Later, I decided to have a real talk with Mom. Not a confrontation, not an argument, but a conversation. I needed to understand her perspective fully and maybe, just maybe, help her understand mine beyond the trophies themselves. "Mom," I started after sitting down across from her at the kitchen table, "I get it now. I see that money's been tight, that you've been stressed, and that maybe selling stuff felt like a solution. I can see why you made that decision, even if it hurt me." Claire blinked, a small, surprised smile on her face. "Alex, thank you for saying that. I didn't think you'd understand. I panicked. I thought selling things could help, and I wasn't thinking about the emotional impact." I nodded slowly. "I get it, and I've realized something too. My self-worth isn't tied to trophies or even your approval. It's tied to me, to the effort I put in, the memories I made, the person I became because of it, and you're a part of that story, but not the definition of it." She reached across the table and lightly touched my hand. "Alex, I'm proud of you. I know I haven't always shown it, but I am, and I'm sorry for making you feel invisible." For a moment, I almost cried. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't some magical Hollywood reconciliation, but it was real, imperfect, hesitant, yet genuine. I realized that was all I could ask for. Emma, ever the instigator, wandered into the kitchen mid-conversation. "So, does this mean I don't get to sell Alex's trophies for my lemonade stand?" she teased. I groaned, but couldn't help laughing. "Nope, not a chance." Claire chuckled softly, shaking her head. "You know, your sister has a point. These things might be valuable someday." "Valuable?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "They're priceless to me, Mom. Not the dollar amount, the memories." Later that day, I decided to take the trophies and reorganize them. I created a little display in my room, giving each one a place of honor. I even wrote a small journal entry next to each, noting the story behind it, why it mattered, and what I had learned from that experience. It was my way of reclaiming them fully, making them tangible proof of my childhood, achievements, memories, and growth. Ryan dropped by that evening, naturally, to inspect the trophy fortress. "Wow," he said, hands on his hips, surveying the room. "This looks like a museum, or a shrine. Either way, mission accomplished. You've officially outsmarted Mom." I laughed. "Yeah, but it's more than that. It's about respect, recognition. Even if it's just me recognizing my own efforts, it matters." Ryan grinned. "Good. And the best part? You've got all your trophies safe, your childhood intact, and your sister mildly amused, but harmless. Sounds like a win-win." Emma wandered in again, snacking on chips, glancing at the trophies. "You really are obsessed with these things, huh?" she said. I smirked. "Maybe. Or maybe I just know what matters." Claire came in, holding a mug of tea, and sat down next to me. Alex, I just want you to know that I'm going to try harder. I might not get it right every time, but I want to see your achievements, your effort, your victories. For real. Not just as clutter. I smiled, the tension that had been coiled tight in my chest over the past few days finally easing. That's all I need, Mom. Imperfection is fine. Just acknowledgement. David wandered in, finally deciding to comment. So, trophy safe, emotions aired, family drama at a minimum. Sounds like progress. I laughed, relief finally seeping in fully. Progress indeed. That night, I lay in bed, staring at my trophies lined up neatly on the shelf. I reflected on the past few days, on the fight, the emotions, and the revelations. I realized that the fight wasn't just about objects. It was about respect, recognition, and standing up for myself. I didn't need trophies to prove my worth, but defending them proved something even more important. I could defend my memories, my experiences, and my identity. Claire knocked softly on my door later that night. Alex, just wanted to say goodnight and thank you for helping me see what really matters. I smiled, letting her in for a brief hug. Good night, Mom, and thanks for trying. As the door closed, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. The trophies were safe, the memories intact, the family still imperfect, still complicated, but slowly finding their footing. And me, I realized that my self-respect, my childhood, and my memories were things no one could take from me. Not even a parent, not even life itself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. So, alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. We have so many more amazing stories coming your way. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this year. And we'd love for you to be part of this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next